So this is May 26, 2026. And it's back in for the full board. First order of business is to look at our agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
Hold on just a second.
Yep.
Can the folks hear okay? This is the first time I've used this room, so I want to make sure. Okay, perfect. I didn't know where anything was in the room.
Okay.
Do
you have anything to add, Jay?
I don't think so, because we're gonna do Colin Gardner separate.
Yeah.
At the end of the hearing.
Yep.
Okay.
I entertain a motion then to approve the agenda as written.
I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda.
Second. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have 6 in favor and 1 absent. We review and approve the minutes from April 26th. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Motion's made and seconded to accept the minutes of April 30th, 2026. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Transitional housing. And Jay, would you like to?
Sure. Give me a second. All right. So I was wondering if it would be helpful maybe if we all go around real quick and do introductions, because I know since the last time Dave and Jill have both been before the board, we've had some board member changes. And Bella, I know you've never been before the board. So if you want to start with, I think we'll start with DOC. This
Sure.
is the transitional housing. Jill Moore and Bella, I don't know. And Waylon they're part of the transitional housing group. Dave Nesbitt has moved up to central office as a field services program manager.
Operations
Manager. Sorry. And then Patsy, you all have met multiple times, is on as well. In case anything comes up.
Start with me. I'm Dean George from Middlebury, chair of the board.
Wayne Douglas. Michael Mother.
Leno, office staff. Parole, office staff as well.
Angela Schubrin, and I live in Essex.
Samantha Drake, and I live in Northfield.
I did. Katie Good from Bennington.
Pat Boucher from South Burlington.
So again, my name is Jill Moore. My title is Housing Program Administrator. Some of you I have met previously when I was at Burlington Probation and Parole, but it's been some time. So I am the grant manager for all of DOC funded transitional housing. So we will certainly go into more detail about that, but
I'm Bella Whalen. My title is Housing Program Coordinator. I do data mostly for our transitional housing.
And Dave Nesbitt, field operations manager.
welcome. So, well, yeah, so we can certainly send this around. This is what we call our public listing. So this by county tells you all of the DOC transitional housing. This is what I refer to as the Bible for caseworkers. So when they're trying to figure out what the plan is, where somebody's going to go if they don't have approved housing, or if they've been case back to be released to transitional housing only. This is really helpful because our caseworkers have to know the whole state, which can be tricky. For probation and parole only has to know their county. So this breaks down quite a few things. Gender specific programs, sex offender specific programs, and and it also tells you like the amount of beds that are funded by county. So unfortunately, some of our counties only have one option. Some of our counties have multiple options. And this is just a great reference for our staff to use. So this is on our website as well too. But this is just a great tool for anybody, really.
Can I just ask?
Sure, of course.
If this says there's 4 beds that are funded, are there more beds here that aren't funded? Like,
Sometimes.
okay.
Yeah, sometimes. Like Dismas has some community bed,
Okay,
but this is the amount that we
right.
are
Okay.
funded to pay for, but, like the Berry Community Justice Center, no. So like some of them have some community beds or more beds available, like pathways, but it's usually DMH or the health side.
Okay.
But yeah. So for transitional housing, the key points are they can apply to one. So they can only apply to one of these programs. So they need to decide what is the best option for them. And now we have also instituted that they need to exhaust local resources first. So if they're from Bennington County, they need to apply to Pathways. If they're denied by Pathways, then they can apply elsewhere out of county. If they're from Bennington County, but they don't qualify for the Pathways program, then they've exhausted all local resources and can apply out of county. We were seeing a lot of cases that went to their local transitional housing maybe 2 or 3 times, and then now are applying out of county. Or went somewhere once and then they're already applying out of county. So we're really trying to see what our needs are for transitional housing and trying to make sure local options are exhausted before applying elsewhere. It makes it hard for staff to supervise out of county cases. And it makes it hard for our grantee staff even more so to supervise out of county cases.
So if someone is applying for transitional housing through Pathways, they have to be county specific. Doesn't go to all pathways.
Oh,
options.
yes, right. If they're applying,
Yeah.
Every program has its own referral system in LMS. So it's specific to Bennington, Rutland, Addison, Burlington. Yes, yeah.
A lot of times we'll get people who want to go to a different area for one reason or another. It's not clear whether they're applying for, or they're in the transitional housing mix in their specific county or they're looking elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. We usually, when we talk about pathways, we don't just say pathways. We'll say like he applied to Addison Pathways. Yeah. So you can certainly, yes, because it's all different. Yeah. People can apply 1 year in advance of their release window date to transitional housing. That includes earned good time. So when they're a year out from release, they can apply to transitional housing. They have to be sentenced though, obviously, right? They can't have pending charges. If they've been on a wait list for 3 months, they can withdraw their referral if they change their mind. Like, let's say they're from Hartford and they apply to Dismas House. And they just learned that Dismas requires nightly dinners as part of their program. They don't want to do that. They can't commit to that because they're going to do a second shift job. They've been on the wait list for 3 months. They can withdraw that referral and apply somewhere else. I don't know how much time we have. So
You have as much time as
let's see.
you want.
Question, sometimes we hear of people applying for residence in something called V4. Is that a different program or?
So V4, Vermont Foundation of Recovery is sober living. That is not us. That's not this. Lund is not us. We do have a grant with Lund, but it's not transitional housing. First Step, Paradise House, all of those like VTAR funded recovery housing is not DOC transitional housing. And they can apply to V4 and this transitional housing at the same time.
They can be waiting on both of those.
Yes.
One question that comes, and one thing that, and I think I mentioned this when we met, a requirement for condition 16, our approved housing condition, that they must have approved housing if they are looking at transitional housing. I just wanted to just talk about that.
That'd be great. So, in order to go to transitional housing, if you're probation status, you need condition 13G. which 13 is the program condition. So all of our grants are programs. They're not just housing. So when they come out on parole, they need, it's expected to have condition 7 and 16. Because there's a tenancy statute that does not apply to our programs because they are programs. They're housing and case management services. So when somebody's terminated from the program, they are violated on their programmatic condition, not just housing. So when somebody's on parole, it's important for them to have conditions 7 and 16. And when they are returned to incarceration on termination from one of our programs, the violation should be for condition 7 and for 16. Because not only is it a loss of housing, but it's more importantly determination from a program. So that tenancy statute is also compliant for like campgrounds, hospitals, Brattleboro Retreat, Valley Vista. So all of those types, churches, all of those types of housing, you don't have tenancy rights, no matter how long that you've been there. So our programs fall under that specific statute. So our individuals into these programs do not have tenancy legality. So when somebody is being released to transitional housing, it's an expectation that conditions 7 and 16 are attached to their parole conditions.
So that brings up one of the conundrums for us.
Yeah.
We do typically have both conditions 7 and 16, but if someone is terminated from transitional housing and they haven't moved somewhere else without permission, they've just been terminated from housing, we find them guilty of violating condition 7, which is the program condition, but not 16, because it says they can't move unless they've had a place approved. So if they haven't moved to a non-approved place, they really haven't violated their condition 16 agreement, which is that their residence must be approved. Typically, they're reincarcerated.
Right.
So it's
Because they haven't had a chance to
actually
put up.
go to a residence that's not approved.
Okay. So like if somebody was terminated from Dismas House because they haven't been able to propose mom's address, they're not in violation of that.
They are in violation of condition 7.
Right.
But they actually have to go to a residence that's not approved. That would be a violation of condition 16. Which is just a technical thing because they are in violation of condition 7 and we understand what's happening.
Yeah. But if they propose a residence and that's been denied by probation and parole, is that enough?
But the condition says you shall not establish a residence. It's
Oh.
approved by your.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Or to have that condition and where it comes into play if someone takes off.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
Goes and lives somewhere else where they want.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think the more important, and Cassie might want to speak on this or Dave, but for us in transitional housing, the more important piece is 7.
We agree.
Yeah, but I also agree that 16 is important to have.
Yeah.
Especially.
The condition needs to be there, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if it's a position, we just had a case last week where a person was removed from transitional housing and reincarcerated.
Yeah.
We found them guilty of violating condition 7, but not 16.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you ever have feedback around the termination letters of the programs and that they're not specific enough, you can feel free to reach out to Bella or I, and we're happy to help guide them. And, we have the termination of 3 strikes, right? So unless it's a huge safety concern, but right. So somebody violates their program, there's some sort of restorative process to that. Somebody violates their conditions of their occupancy agreement. There should be some sort of reparative process to that. You violated it again and you are now terminated from the program. And there might be more than that because that might be small things. But the expectation from us is at least 3 strikes. Yeah.
Cases I can recall off the top of my head have good documentation.
Good.
The house managers.
Yeah. Bella brought data that we collected, if you guys wanted to just take a peek at it. And we also just brought, you can certainly just pass that around. This is, so we do, go ahead, Bella, I'm talking for you, sorry.
So I have a how-to document for mentored caseworkers and POs for the referral. We just wanted to bring it so you guys could see like what's being filled out, just the information that we're asking for. It's pretty detailed, but I can do the sections.
We just redid the referral process and how you, caseworkers apply to these programs for the individuals with a lot more detail. So we're excited for that.
I love this better off.
Mm.
Didn't realize it was that fun.
The data.
The data. The better off after they get to the program, without a program, 80%. In building and employment, that's great.
So obviously the main goal of transitional housing is to exit to permanent housing, but there's a lot of complications with that in this housing crisis and this financial crisis for our individuals. There's limited vouchers, which makes it really hard for people to have permanent housing. All of our transitional housing is single living, right? So they can't move in with their girlfriend and can't move in with their spouse. It's them and another DOC individual, or it's just them. So normally we see that they do eventually move in with a girlfriend because maybe they've been out for a year in compliance. So probation and parole is now okay with them residing together. Or mom is finally okay with them coming back to live with her because they've been compliant for a year. So we actually see most of our transitional housing, permanent housing being with somebody else, not necessarily on their own. Or DCF has allowed the individual to go back with the spouse and the kids because they've been out for so long. Some of it is their own apartment that they can afford. Some of it is a voucher. Like a project-based voucher instead of like a Section 8 voucher, because those are still available. But I think we're also really lucky to have Burlington Housing Authority as a grantee as well too. So we have those big chunk of beds for them. So yeah. Do you want to just explain our data of the how well, how much better off, what that means?
Yeah, so that chart is what we call an RPA results-based analysis. Results-based accountability, sorry. And we have 3 sections, each detailing like better off, how well, and
How much?
how
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
the programs are performing. These are, I have it in front of me, but there's questions about whether or not people received employment at 90 days, also whether or not they received employment at exit or benefits. The biggest question is whether or not they got transitional housing turned into permanent housing is yes for them. We also look at whether or not folks are housing ready. So if there's people that are just, they're at the end of the program, they're compliant with program rules and they have income if they're just looking for a place. And that is the case for some people. So those are successes in our eyes, but it's kind of stuck with the housing crisis. So there's that.
So they can stay there for an extended period of time.
They can, yeah.
Well, they're on supervision.
Yeah. For evaluating the programs, we look at their referrals acceptance rate. Usually looking for that to be about 80% or 70% of referrals. Also their utilization, and the goal for utilization right now is 70%. I think 75 on the mid-year data, which is good. Yeah.
Bella just did some work with our data team too, and we looked at our targets and anything that doesn't have a target on there is new data for us for this year that we're collecting. Anything that has a target on there, we've looked at the past 5 years worth of data like I said, was what, 4.5, and then it projected 6 months to make it around 5 years.
Mhm.
And then we readjusted the target based on that. Our permanent housing goal went way down. I think it was 60, right? We brought it down to 40. Which is still, it's not great, but that's what's achievable in this climate, unfortunately. So, it usually helps to look at the number, like how many people were released to permanent housing versus like a percentage. That makes me feel better, but like, and our utilization is not 100% because we understand that somebody moves out of an apartment, the next day somebody's not gonna be able to move in, so we can't base our utilization on 100%. Does anyone have specific program questions about a program or? All of our programs have different commitment times, like dismiss, you only need 90 days, but pathways, they require a year. They prefer a year, they prefer more, but. So every program is very different.
You know, at our last staff meeting, a couple of our members had mentioned that they had spoken with some of the transitional housing partners, I believe. Because we were talking about, is there a possibility that the board members could, for a transitional housing program or see one? I think, Angela, you might have mentioned,
Yeah, I own a business separate from the Parole board, so I was reached out to make a donation for a benefit that Dismiss House was doing in Arlington. And I offered to give a tour there because I let them know I was part of the Parole board.
Yeah,
And they said that's something that they would definitely could do at some point.
yeah, they do that quite often. They just had a legislature breakfast there the other day. There's two in Burlington. There's one in Winooski and one in Burlington, so they were probably thinking the one on Dual Street.
Yeah, Fuel Street is where I went. Yeah.
I wanted to talk with, all of you first before we ventured out, reaching out. I didn't know how that all worked, so I wanted to just broach the conversation with you.
Yeah, especially with Dismiss, we're not their only funder, so, yeah, it's not like a DOC specific
Okay.
program. They also serve federal inmates and they serve community members, so. Yeah, I think Dismiss would be a great spot to see.
Okay.
Even field trip.
Yeah.
The parking on the Fuel Street one is the best.
No. You're like one time.
Yeah.
But it's close to Church Street.
It is, yeah, a great location.
Any questions?
I have one, but I feel like it might be a little bit ridiculous.
Never.
Can you talk about the wait list a little bit? Like, what do the wait lists look like? Because I feel like we see a lot of like, oh, they're third on the list or they're 12th or just get a little more.
Yeah, so we have a way to pull the wait list, which is great. So, I don't know if you remember how many were on the wait list last time you did the numbers for me. 70-ish. So we have about 70-ish people on the wait list and
Statewide?
yeah.
Okay.
Monthly, we have to give numbers to AHS to say, out of this many beds, this is how many are filled and this is how many are on the wait list. So, and it really depends on every program, right? So Burlington Dismiss House probably has like, well, I don't even know, 15 people on that wait list. And Hartford Dismiss House, do they have any? Four. So some programs have a really long wait list, some programs don't have any. But because people can apply in that year time frame, not everyone who's on the wait list is actually eligible for release. So what happens is, yeah, they might say like they're third on the wait list, but what does that really mean? Like the two people before you might not even be release eligible. So you're probably first on the wait list, who knows? It also means like pathways specifically, sometimes Dismiss, like Burlington Dismiss, like East Allen is ADA compliant, but Buell is not. So if you have somebody in a wheelchair that's third or fourth on the wait list and there's a bed open at East Allen, he might bump that wait list to get to the top because of his ADA needs. The same thing happens with pathways and with sex offenders a lot, right? So there's kind of like two wait lists. There's a sex offender wait list and then there's a wait list because there's so few sex offender approved housing. They come first. So they get housed first. So wait list just kind of shows you how many people are on it. It doesn't matter when you applied and what number you are on that wait list. It's based off of need and risk.
Okay,
Who
thank
gets
you.
housed first.
Okay.
And a lot of people on the wait list are not release eligible, like I had said. We're waiting for them to complete programming, you know, they're within the year window, but they just applied last week, so they can't even get out for another year, maybe. So, it really depends what the wait list specifically looks like. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask something. I'm gonna assume that the wait list also, when you're saying release eligible, it also determines, I assume furlough interrupts as well. It calculates that into the release eligibility, I'm assuming. I just wanted to I wanted to put that out for the board. That sometimes it may look like they should be eligible, but just adding that one other
Because it's-
factor in.
right.
Is one more department criteria.
If somebody receives like a 2-year furlough interrupt at that 1 year has gone by, now they can apply. Yeah. And also, even though they're RSN, right, they might not necessarily be approved for release either. So it just means that they can put forth a release plan, and then they will be reviewed by case staffing by Cassidy and Dave. So,
So each of these programs is a private program, but DOC pays for the housing of DOC.
all of these are nonprofits and we pay for staff and housing.
Staff at the,
Yes, yeah. In some sort of fashion, whether that's a half FTE or a full FTE or like
Mhm.
Pathways is like 16 FTEs. It just depends on the
so
grant.
for the residential treatment facilities programs, do you have any staffing at those as well?
We don't have any residential.
Right now, you just,
We don't care about this. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have, when we did the RFP process, the request for proposals process in fiscal year 22, that was based on a harm reduction model. So we don't have, the dismiss will be moving to more of a VTAR, like V4
Mhm.
type, substance use plan. But most of our housing is based off of harm reduction. And, you know, a relapse, let's look at Valley Vista, a relapse, let's look at whatever sort of plan makes sense. And then another relapse, and then, you know, that is too high level of need for our specific program. So we can no longer house you in this
so
program.
then as you staff this, you provide the program requirements for that.
When they bid, there was an application process to that request for proposals,
Okay.
which was based off of the theory of change with, and harm reduction type model. Yeah.
Do you ever look at any independent requests for housing that may come in?
We can't take on any new housing unless we do a full RFP
Right.
process, but you know, we've unfortunately lost quite a few grantees since fiscal year 22. Based off whatever sort of reasons, we've lost 5 grants. So I think we're definite, and you know, the whole risk containment and RSN process has adjusted the need of our transitional housing for sure. So for state fiscal year 28, I don't think we're going to be surprised if we lean into another request for proposals process for the whole state.
Thank you.
So these scattered apartments that you have in Pathways, are those like contracts that you have with landlords already in place?
Pathways does. Yeah.
It's not like they have to go out and find the apartment first and then they can go, there are already contracts in place with those landlords.
Yeah, usually there is like a stock of apartments that they have, but they do move from landlord to landlord, is what we're actually seeing in Bennington County with that. We had like 2 landlords that would work with us. So they would give back an apartment, maybe at least on board a 3rd landlord to have some more flexibility. And sometimes they have to let go of landlords because they've said no to 3 or 4 of our individuals in a row, and you're clearly not a landlord that's willing to work with our population. So it ebbs and flows for sure, but it's normally a stock of apartments that they have online. And somebody will have to move out to permanent housing or be terminated from the program, or they max out their supervision and then somebody would move into that apartment. BHA sometimes, Burlington Housing Authority usually does that. If they have somebody approved, then they go find an apartment for that individual. Because they're more housing than anything, but it just sort of depends on the program, but normally it's like with all the community justice centers and pathways, it's apartments they already have online, that they keep online and move people in and out of.
That's kind of what I thought it was, probably, I just wanted to make sure.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's very rare that we can find a landlord that's willing to work with our population, so.
Mm.
Especially straight out of incarceration. They have an easier time if they've been out for a year and done well, and pathways and a lot of our programs do like tenancy letters if they've had good history within that program of paying fees. Passing monthly housing inspections, they'll write a letter as the landlord recommending them as a
Oh,
tenant.
that's great.
But that makes the blow a little less. Yes, you can certainly. One is absent. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Cassie and Dave, while you are here, anything from field services that you want to talk about or update? One thing I will say, Cassie, is Kathy sent me the information on B4,
Oh,
so I did print it off for all of you as well.
I just wanted to talk just for a minute and emphasize it can be really tricky in working around wait lists with transitional housing, especially around the RSN executive, the RSN cases. So I think, just being cautious and taking the time to verify that although they may be on the wait list, because that's what they're going to say, they're like, we've been accepted on the wait list, that wait list with those conditions imposed may not be the most immediate response or release that the parole board expects. I think we had a few cases come through this last couple of weeks where they're on wait lists, and now we're trying to verify beds, which does not mean an immediate release. So I don't want that to be a misconception that if they have the transitional housing and have been approved, that means an immediate release. Even with our 10 days of ability to release LENs for those high-risk cases, for the parole board to be aware of that. I think we're waiting in a few, although they're been granted parole, are still not being released because we need to navigate and meet and hope that a bed opens up for those transitional. So sometimes it doesn't always connect with what's being reported to you by the individual in their presentation to what the actual wait list looks like.
Yeah. Sure.
But is there anything else that the board has any questions that has come up most recently about field operations or something that we can help support in, or any questions or comments or concerns?
We hear more about B4 than we used to.
Yeah, they definitely have more houses around in the areas and communities. We actually, and there's beds for women, which is surprising to you. Like you and I are on the same page. Like Morrisville has actually another house for women for V4. So those guys are really community partners, and DOC has very limited, just like any other house, we have to, those releases have to be in place, and we have less autonomy over what happens there. They're not as, I would say, have the oversight like Jenna's Promise has, but it's still sober living. So we're even in our releases looking at those like, okay, if that's where you can go, it's structured, but not overly structured and or as structured as Jenna's Promise, which you guys are used to. They have a lot more structure in their programming. I would say it kind of mirrors a Dismiss House out of Burlington, a little more loose. It doesn't have as much staffing, those kind of things. But still a resource out there for individuals struggling with substance use disorder. So can't balk at that in Vermont.
Cassidy, occasionally we get creative plans coming before us from Therapeutic Works Incorporated.
Yes.
And a lot of times there are cases which are challenging to begin with because of a lot of things, but housing is certainly one of them. Does your group review those so that we can get feedback from DOC on whether
If
this
we
makes sense or not? And
if we get them, I mean, sometimes they're getting to you, I think, before they come to us,
yeah,
and or presenting differently than versus a letter that we may review in the Central Case Staffing Committee. They don't have, they can't come and present to us from Therapeutic Works. They can only submit letters which are reviewed by the committee, as well as whatever the incarcerated individual wants to submit for the release plan. So I can't speak to their presentation as much, but I can go back. Dave and I can go back and try to navigate figuring out that balance. Because some of them are very creative, I hear, some of the feedback. I would always go that the committee, when we do our reviews, and you may see them come as not recommended and seeing that same information, I can tell you the committee, we work very hard at reviewing all those documents. We've gotten better at our documentation in our denials of those case staffing, saying we have reviewed these case plans and or letters submitted, and it's not meeting and that's when you'll see like they still may not be considered recommended for parole or still need that executive leadership approval before making that positive recommendation for release. We're just really looking at these RSN cases with like we're really scrutinizing and looking at some of the behavior, how long they're able to maintain within the facilities, but also that community supervision history is really impacting and looking at our decisions about whether or not we're approving parole indoor community furlough supervision release. You're seeing the same cases we are, where it's a crazy criminal history sometimes, and we're really looking at the individual necessarily being more accountable to their own release plans versus the work. I think, as you'll agree, the staff are doing an amazing job trying to get these release plans done and support the individual navigating, answering their own release questions and setting up services. But we're really looking at even how this individual, after going through risk, is still using distortive or minimizing language within their release plan. So we're really, really, really looking at these closely of how and can the risk be mitigated in the community. So if I can emphasize that. It's a difficult role to be in.
For us, a lot of times too, it probably is a surprise to the parole officer, the caseworker, first time they're looking at it as well. So it'd be nice to have them have an opportunity to review it, because many of them provide possible solutions to things we're both looking for, and they just haven't been vetted out yet.
Yeah. I think, what we can do is Dave and I will follow up and see if we connect with Therapeutic Works and try to navigate and see if we can create a relationship where they submit something prior to the caseworker or the PPO, whomever they have a closer relationship. As you know, I always mirror all my reentry work off of St. Johnsbury. Obviously, Angel has her reentry. She's incredible at it. So if they're not already participating in her group, I wonder what's really going on. So I will happily follow through, because she really does have the top-notch reentry coordinations for individuals. So I'd be surprised if they didn't. I'd be really surprised. It'd make me nervous.
Yeah.
I also see that Emily Wines is no longer, she left the meeting. Emily, PRO is the one that is hiring Therapeutic Works most of the time, just to give you the heads up.
Okay.
So a conversation with PRO may be helpful as well, because they're the ones bringing in the last minute plans a lot of the time. Because we get them the morning of hearings a lot of the time. We don't get them too far in advance either. We're getting them the same time the PO and the caseworker are.
And that's a difficult to make a really informed decision. I know from the committee standpoint, I mean, like, I'm already looking at my central case staffings today. I mean, we got them Friday, so we really start in advance to looking at these cases really thoroughly before walking into a decision. So I'm sure that's the same for the parole board. You guys start way in advance because we're all managing schedules. To get it the day before, I'd be like,
Yeah,
wouldn't know.
I just thought I could let you know, give you that little piece of information as well.
Again, I added it to, I'll reach out to her too. Will and Dave and I will do that.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other feedback, comments, anything? I think Dave and I are going to really work hard at trying to be just present for a little bit if things do come up to help bridge that gap in relationship. Any misconceptions that might come up or cases, if you have any questions moving forward.
I will just for the record for all those from DOC in the room, are they called, I don't know if they're the reentry POs or the transitional POs. I know they've been called different things over the years. They are doing an excellent job, and many of them will pull up the transitional housing wait list while we are doing hearings. They are really speaking, they know their cases, and they're really coming when they are joining with a lot of information. So there are a few that aren't as well versed, but I've seen a real improvement in the verbiage that the POs that are coming to the hearings are providing to the board. I just wanted to pass that along. If you want to pass that along.
Yes, absolutely. I love giving positive feedback for sure.
It's really helpful to have I know it's another piece of the puzzle, especially if somebody has hearings like 2 or 3 days a week on top of their caseload. It's been very helpful. At least I see it. I assume the board members see it all as well, having the PO in the room and not just a caseworker. But they add an extra piece.
Excellent. So are you seeing an increase in attendance in the last year?
Yes, we've been seeing that at least in the last year. POs are at almost every parole hearing.
Good.
And it's been wonderful.
That is good.
Master plan is working.
And I think it might be a little over a year, but definitely it's been, I think having our hearings virtual helps, and I think it's just been an added piece.
It's clear too that the caseworkers and POs are communicating much better.
Oh, can I take that feedback too? We need that too.
Absolutely.
I swear some days, I wonder, I think we all speak different languages and are from different countries on some days. So, thank you, Dean. I appreciate that feedback. And Mary Jane, thank you for that feedback. I will happily send that along. Well, perfect. That wraps up. Dave, anything?
I'm good from here.
He's got his sunglasses and ready to go, Cassie.
He's the only one I can't see. I can't see him or Mary Jane a little bit, so.
Oh, sorry. We're too close. We're too close.
Wow. But thank you for your time as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate
your time. Absolutely.
Be well, enjoy the rest of your day and spring. We get 2 days of spring.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
enjoy your 2 days.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye.
It'll snow by the weekend. Though.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. We needed that.
Don't get signed yet?
No.
Go ahead, MJ.
All right. So last Wednesday, since we last met, legislative bill House 559 passed the Senate it passed the Senate with an amendment. They had to go back to the House committee. That was when I was at the conference. I had to actually take a break and testify via Zoom. It passed through the House, the accepted amendment. I'll go over what the amendment was in just a minute. And it has passed the Senate again, and it has been sent to the governor. It was sent to the governor last Wednesday. The governor's office reached out for our input. I sent our input along and I haven't heard anything since. I have been checking his press releases, because he lists all of when he signs a bill or vetoes a bill, it goes on the legislative tracking on his website. He didn't do any on Friday, and today's the first day of the week that I don't know. So just real quick, since the last time I reviewed the bill, the only significant change that has occurred, and hold on, let me find it, was on page 15 of the bill regarding victim notification. So the Jennifer Pullman, the executive director of the Center for Crime Victims Services, did I say that right? Thank you, Sam. She's now the financial manager, by the way, of there. Had proposed, there was a victim notification task force that was assigned by the legislature last year that was a bunch of different stakeholders around victim notification. Out of that, there was some discrepancy in language between two statutes. One was 13 VSA 5305, and the other one was 28 VSA 502A. No, not 502A. 507. I'll tell 502A comes into it in a minute. So those two sections had, one was basically an opt-in where the victims would have to ask for notification, and one was an opt-out where victims would be notified unless they said they didn't want to be notified. So the one in the 28507, which is our parole statutes, was the opt-out. And so what the committee did after some testimony on all of our parts, and I was the one that suggested that we only really have the language in one area. So what happened is 135305 now has a citation that goes over to 28507. So 28507 is where the victim notification for parole hearings is living. The reason why 502A is in here, that's the presumptive parole statute. And all it did in that one is added a opportunity for a victim to waive any notification. That was just a consistency piece that legislative council had pointed out. So this is really just cleaning up two statutes that didn't match and figuring out which one made the most sense. And that's why everybody agreed with the amendment. It didn't need to go to conference committee or anything like that. And it moved right on through. So with that, as soon as the bill does go effective July 1, if it is signed, and with that, we can start to work on a contract for conflict counsel. That's the big piece of this bill to me is the conflict counsel piece. This gives us $75,000 to look for outside counsel to help. Especially the pilot project really focuses on parole violation training for all of you around the due process legal needs. Instead of having certain cases for you all to read, we can actually come up with a training module, have our own independent counsel to do that. It knows that other statute where we have to have PRO and others in the room while you're having the training. So we can actually have a training where
That's good.
it's open and we can, and I can develop that module with this attorney and so forth. And they can also help with other policy issues with our manual and so forth until we run out of 75,000. The goal with the pilot project would still be to have an assistant attorney general do our litigation because we don't know how much, which would be fine, because we don't come into that conflict so much with our litigation. It's more when they're advising you all and doing the training. That's where the major conflict is coming.
What happens if we get one and the 75,000 runs out?
We just don't use them until the next contract year. So this is gonna,
Ask for more money.
now, so here's what's gonna be. So we started with 25,000. And we had no bite. And so having the extra 50, I think the 75 is gonna be a fairly good number. Looking at some of the numbers, I don't have them with me. I don't know. They're somewhere in my email that Todd Delos from the Attorney General's office provided around similar contracts with other quasi judicial boards. 75,000 is a pretty good number.
Good.
I was very happy with the committee finding that additional
Yeah.
50,000. I think what it's gonna be is a balancing act of what we tackle and what we do. And the key is gonna be tackling violations at first per the pilot project. And then if there's money left over, then we go into anything else. So that's why this person is not gonna do our litigation. So if there is a suit, the Assistant Attorney Generals will still represent us.
Because it's rough if we get used to having them and then the money runs out and then you don't have them. And
So this kind of goes into the other pilot that is in the bill as well around the budget. Because for many years, so for my 7 years here, I have not participated in a budget exercise. The budget has always been set and presented from DOC. Never once have I had anybody ask me, do we have any budgetary needs? Do we have any of this? Anytime I go and say I have a need, it's usually after the budget's already been submitted. Because I don't know when the timelines are. So over the last year, I started doing quarterly meetings with DOC Finance. So what is happening in section 7 on page 14 is that I'm responsible for submitting a proposed budget to the Commissioner of Corrections and the Secretary of Human Services for FY28, FY29. So that gives me the opportunity to at least put what our needs as a board are forward. And then we get to at least work in the budget process versus just having them set our budget for us.
this says the sum of 50,000. That's in
That's
addition to the 25.
That's the additional, if you look on page 13, the 25 is the 25 is carried forward from this year's budget. The 50 is next year's budget.
Get us.
Yeah. I'm not too concerned with this number. I'm happy. I'm very happy with this number.
And somebody's got his own practice that's looking to supplement it. I don't think you'd be able to find a full-time, part-time attorney.
The other thing that we found out just before this went ahead in the legislature, and this is kind of why I spoke it out to Chair Emmons, is we found out a couple weeks before the bill went forward that the Attorney General's office does already contracts for quasi-judicial boards, and they are not, an assistant attorney general is not supposed to advise quasi-judicial boards per their own manual policies. And nobody had ever found that during all of this process, and they actually helped contract. Seek, they have folks that they already use, which we did not know at the time.
So there's a list of attorneys that.
So they already
do the
have a
contract
list,
work.
I already have a draft RFP that Sarah London from the Attorney General's office had already started working on to get the 25 rolling until I was then told the 25 is no longer there. And then we're like, where did it go? Nobody could answer that question, but the 25 has to be somewhere because it's getting carried. So.
Have you spoken with Sarah London?
I have not yet. Lori Fisher has been spearheading all of those conversations. I was going to start talking with Sarah. And then I was told to halt because the bill was being worked on and we couldn't find the 25,000. So I will, once this is signed, I will start working with the contract team at AHS and Sarah London to get this rolling.
So you guys may remember Sarah London, she used to be Peter Shumlin's legal counsel.
Yes.
She worked for us.
Wow, no.
Yeah. She was very interested in the full board work. You know, history of it.
Yes.
I will say this session, a lot of education happened with the committees, especially the Senate. The House seemed to know a little bit more. The Senate institutions didn't have any idea really what you all do. Just a little bit that they've gotten from confirmation hearings. There was some talk about the amount of work you all do and the amount that you get paid for it. So I think we're going to start having more ongoing conversations going forward about the value of the work that you all do. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to.
Very productive. You did a good job this year. Last year. A lot of work getting this bill through on work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can tell you enjoy it too.
I do enjoy Glenn's and
You can
statements.
tell.
Can you help with the education one too?
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years when I retire.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a lawyer, maybe I'll be a lawyer by that point.
That's a complete mess.
Go for it.
That's my next career.
Okay, shall we move on?
If anybody wants to take a break at anything too, just say the word. And I apologize, I can turn on the fan. I know it's a little warm in here. I don't know why.
I almost wore shorts and I said, no, it's gonna be freezing in there.
Oh, trust me, we have not gotten used to it. We have not got used to it. So if you want me to. No, I'm just saying. Great.
So SDMF, we do have some things.
We are at SCMF already? I thought we had
Yeah.
one more thing first.
I have violations.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did I skip?
Yeah, violations.
We do have one.
I just wanted to talk about a couple cases we had this last month, and hold on and let me plug in. So this month at Rutland, the board got a little creative with a couple of cases. Just because I just these stood out to me a little.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. These cases stood out to me a little bit because they were out of the norm. So we had a couple of postponed cases. One of them was an individual who we postponed the hearing because he hadn't been arraigned on his new charge yet. Hero asked for it to be postponed. However, everyone thought he should have an approved residence. And he didn't have a residence at that point. He didn't really have any residence at that point. So what the board did is they postponed the hearing, but we then issued a hold without bail for him. So he was lodged, and then upon release, he was lodged to be held without bail until Mr. Miller obtained an approved residence. So it's kind of like they did a custody, in their deliberation, they did a custody status hearing. In a way. So I just wanted to just put it out there of some alternative that we're starting to get creative with in situations. I don't remember who was on that board. Dean Spam and Wayne or Ray that did this. Nicholas Miller. And I don't know if he's been released yet. Carla, do you know? Because you've been working on that schedule.
Check.
I didn't know if you'd gotten to him yet.
Keep adding people to our schedules. Oh my gosh. He's not been released.
So I just thought I would throw that out. I don't remember the details of the case. I don't really want to go into the details of the case. Because it is an open case, but
Creative solution.
it's just a creative solution. And then That was creative solution number 1 of the day. Then we had creative solution number 2 of the day,
Oh, dear Lord.
which was, so this individual has had a non-extraditable, he was locked on a parole violation.
This is when we shuffled off to Buffalo.
And he went.
He's there.
in jail.
He's in jail.
Really?
He is in Buffalo.
He did exactly what?
It's an Oxford.
Yeah.
I checked on him on Friday and I checked the bias
Conrad
system and he's still
Told me.
there. So this was another case of the board wanted to postpone disposition because this outstanding non-extraditable warrant was part of it. So what the board did was set a very detailed release plan of he was to be released directly to go see his parole officer in Vermont. Then he could be directly transported to the bus station in Albany, New York, to go directly to Buffalo.
By a friend of his that was gonna come pick him up.
Yeah.
Really?
He did it.
And he did it.
And
Honest guy.
yep, and then we add, I think I might have added this last one of you shall remain in communication with your parole officer in Vermont while you're in New York, providing your parole officer updates regarding your New York warrant and the plan for us. So, because we didn't just want him to go to New York and then fall off the face of the earth. Well, he's in New York and he's incarcerated. So he turned himself in, they lodged him, and we'll see him when.
And he has
I mean,
the
it really
that
is.
detainer condition that he returned when he's finished.
Right. And I bet he will return too.
So he's currently
Next.
incarcerated in
Can we do
Buffalo.
this with the guy that had the pending warrant in California?
Yeah, it's probably kept going.
That's a fear.
So this case, there was a lot of work between the PO, the caseworker,
Yeah.
and Margot Kushner at PRO. When that was happening, the emails, because we were being included on every email, there was, Colby, I think you were lucky you were out that day. They were like being constant emails, but it was just really good teamwork on all of their parts.
Excellent.
So just wanted to throw out just a couple of alternatives we did in the postponement and really trying to think of what are the best outcomes for a lot of these individuals.
Because this case was going nowhere if he doesn't get to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And we had a similar one a little while ago where we had one that needed to go to New Hampshire. Well, he went once and he didn't go back. Well, New Hampshire came and got him.
Yeah.
And he's now pending a violation here again.
This guy's max. You know,
See?
yeah,
I don't know.
how long he would have just sat.
Well, he wouldn't have just that. We would have either determined to continue him on parole or revoke because he's
Yeah.
still pending. So I don't know how long he would have sat. But the board really wanted to give that incentive to him to go take care of it before they decided they were gonna revoke him or not.
And how long will he be in Buffalo for? Do you think?
We don't know.
Till they dispose of him.
So this Steve Paffard,
Is the friend who took him direct to the bus station, he even paid for his bus ticket.
He had no money.
nice friend.
I can't remember if he was just a friend or if he was an employer. I don't remember. It's a
It's
picture
just
of.
a friend. Yeah.
I just
That's great.
wanted to give out a couple of examples of.
Creative
Yeah.
thinking.
Sometimes they work.
Sometimes they work. You never know. You don't know. So once he comes back.
Yeah.
We will then we'll schedule him for his disposition.
The good thing is, we collaborated with everybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hard and fast, no, we're not doing anything with this case kind of thing.
There was I think we recently, this month too, we paroled to a detainer on the fly as well. And I can't remember the exact details of that case where we were in a hearing. It really looked like this guy should go take care of his, I think it was an extraditable warrant. And the board decided it was the only thing holding him in. So the board did decide, and then we had an attorney present right at the hearing too. and did it all right on the spot as well. I just thought these were different and the outline that kind of put them out there for everybody.
Yeah, good collaboration. Everyone's part.
Nice when we can all get along.
Figure out something that actually works.
Yeah. Right. SDMF. So before we talk about discrepancies, there was an interesting presentation at the APAI conference around SDMF. It's about the implementation and outcomes. So there's been an ongoing research going on regarding SDMF over the last couple of years. I wasn't able to get all of Vermont's data there because it's a really cumbersome data task that they're asking for. But what they did was they gave us some of the initial findings. And so I put it into a handout. The key pieces that I took away and Sam added wherever, I put it into a little handout, and I apologize with the pictures. I tried to clear them up a little because I tried to take them of the screen. But just some points of the first page is really some points of interest that I found, kind of stuff that I never heard necessarily in our training and so forth. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about regarding case specific factors. I know a lot of the times it's like, what do we put in this section? And the way that Danielle Ryder, who is the chief research person for the tool now, since Ralph Sarin passed away, really said that case specific factors is when you're evaluating the section, you want to ask yourself, is there something risk related that needs to be included that couldn't be included in another domain? So like last week, we had a medical case that came before the board. And I suggested that the board really look at that medical case, that should be treated in the case specific factors area. So really just think of it. I just thought that question really struck me and something to think about when you're looking at that section.
Can we add that to our?
Yep, I'm gonna update. So when I come back from the community of practice, I'm gonna update that document. I wanna wait until see what we get. Ability to control behavior, or as she was calling it, self-control. Questions to ask when evaluating this section is, did this individual display self-control deficits that contributed to their index offense? So really looking at when they committed their crime, what were the self-control factors? And really looking at that when you're evaluating this domain. She suggested making a list of self-control deficits that contributed to the offense. And then also kind of thinking about, do any of these self-control deficits still exist? And then you're going to hear a constant theme. So responsivity and programming. Did the programming address those self-control deficits that you identified when you're doing a self-control area? Institutional community behavior. Has the individual exhibited recent offense analogous or serious misbehavior? Should be does, not does it.
Does it?
Yeah, sorry. I did this late last night. Does it tie to the index offense behavior as well? So go ahead.
Sorry. The other thing she said about the institutional community behavior, which I thought was interesting, was she goes back 3 years. We agreed as a board that we'd go back 3 months. So that's a significant different time frame. So I wrote down that they go back 3 years with that to note, just because I thought that was interesting. Sorry.
Well, 3 months when? I thought it was more a year or two if they've been incarcerated.
Yeah.
I thought we talked a couple months ago about going back 3 months, but I could be mistaken.
If they're in the community,
Okay,
we go back.
Okay.
We count 3 months.
so she did,
Otherwise, we do institutional.
right, so she did 3 years, which I thought was interesting.
And I think, this is, and this is the one area that I think is the hard part, and I've always been trying to get more information on, is most places don't see the individuals as often as we do.
Yeah.
They don't see them in and out as much, and this is where, but thank you for bringing up the 3 months. I think it's that weird limbo of in and out. And I think we had decided 2 originally based on the trainers that had came. It's so interesting to hear how everybody does this.
So going back to programming,
Yeah.
did the programming address self-control deficits that we found in the ability to control their behavior? In many cases, most cases, we have substance abuse as an issue. And in most cases, there's no programming, but there is substance abuse treatment of some sort, either through the MAT program or counseling. Wouldn't this be a good place to indicate in there that substance abuse, which is the ability to control behavior problems, is being addressed in programming through counseling, the MAT program, whatever else they're doing that's in some cases voluntary, but there's no other programming being offered.
Right.
I think the other thing here too is to look at, and we'll get to it a little bit later on, is really around when you get to your more serious offenders, your violent offenders, when you're looking at programming, like, did the programming address their anger needs? Did it address, I think it'll get more important as we get further along.
In some cases, we don't know. If it,
Well, that's where we should be probing.
Like,
Neutral.
Because they don't get programming.
right.
Right. Yeah, which is totally okay. Offender change. So this one, I know some of you struggle with offender change. So this one is really looking back at the self-control deficits again to see if changes occurred. Can they look back at that list to see how they've addressed these? Also look at the risk factors, not how they're presenting themselves. So don't just look at how they're talking to you today, but is there behavior in the facility showing some of this? Are they being proactive in their treatment, their programming, that kind of things? Look at the trajectory of improvement. Also, is there something in the file that can go along with the self-report that they're giving you? So kind of looking at the big picture when you're looking at change.
I rely on the questions that they've answered, if they've answered them.
Yeah.
When it, under self-control or how have you changed? I read carefully what they put in that, and that gives you a good insight as to where their head is.
But you gotta also look, they're talking the talk in that,
Right.
but are they walking?
exhibiting that?
How are they exhibiting it in their normal daily behavior?
Yeah.
Release plan, does a release plan address their risk? And these behaviors. And then she touched on victims a little bit too, was how does the topic affect current, how does the topic of victims affect current risk? She said that it should be factored into domains where applicable. We have our own victim domain and then the policy. It's not part of SDMF. We instituted that ourselves. But she also reiterated, which I've heard many times, is as a whole, victim sentiment does not predict risk. but behavior toward the victim can predict risk. So just a reminder that a victim can come in, be scared to death. How can we mitigate some of that? But it's not a sole reason to deny parole.
Yeah.
So just the first picture, just kind of shows, I like the side where it shows that criminal behavior and parole history, self-control are historical, which is what we've talked about. Then it kind of shows recent behavior and pro-social change. It shows you where that bracket is, reentry score. I just thought it'd be good. And I can blow these up or try to and send it to everybody. So that was just the initial, and then I'll go into a little bit of the study outcomes because I found some of this mind-blowing. Predicting success for nonviolent offending. So nonviolent offending involves lower stakes to the public. Concern is more salient, where behavior indicates a path towards persistence. So for low risk nonviolent offending, institutional community behavior, if the behavior persists, they are 14 times more likely to violate and have their parole revoked, is what they found reviewing the data from states. Because what the data from the states is when somebody was paroled, I think it was 2023 and 2024, and it looks at has their parole been revoked since and what their scores were.
So we're saying that nonviolent offenders, if they're
Low risk nonviolent offenders.
they're going to become high risk offenders.
Well, and then offender change and personal change. I used her language too, the personal change. I kind of like the personal change language instead of offender change. If the behavior is ongoing and not showing signs of change, they are 8 times likely to violate and have their parole revoked if they're released. And then with moderate, same 2 categories. They're 2 times likely, more likely in both of those categories if they're moderate. And then with high risk, it outlines institutional community behavior, personal change, release plan, in case specific factors. It didn't say it's that they're just that they're likely to, if they're not showing signs of change, or if their behavior is still ongoing, or if they don't have a release plan that addresses their risks, if they're likely to violate. With high risk nonviolent, the longer sentence equals more programming and more time to change. You should be able to see their trajectory over time. You should be able to detect change when someone is supervised that long. A lot of them you can't still. Institutional community behavior and offender change are the most predictive factors for nonviolent offenders. It's just something to think about when you're doing your scoring, your coding, I mean. So then with violent offending, violent reoffending is driven by a smaller group of the same repeat offenders. We need to understand and address their motivations, contributors to adequately mitigate their risk. Predicting success, violent offending. Questions for violent offending, criminal history. Is this a pattern or is there a history of violence or escalation? You want to really think about that. Self-control, what were their motivations, antecedents to the index offense? What self-control deficits contributed to their behavior? Have those deficits been mitigated? And then release plan, does the release plan adequately mitigate those factors? So with low-risk violent offenders, if the behavior persists with ability to control behavior, they are 8 times likely to violate and have their parole revoked. With offender change, if the behavior is ongoing, not showing signs of change, there's 3 times as likely. And then moderate risk violence, ability to control behavior, institutional community behavior, and offender change. they are all showing that if the behavior persists or is ongoing, or they're not showing signs of change, they are likely to have their parole violated. And then with high risk violence, the interesting piece on this one is criminal and parole history. Their history shows repeated offenses of the same nature and or escalation of offenses. They are 8 times likely to violate and have their parole revoked. They really looked at intimate partner violence. Hopefully for intimate partner violence, the individual is getting domestic violence focused programming. They say this is one of the most, between this and sex offenders, sex offending, they're the least reported crimes, or adjudicated crimes.
In most cases, the domestic violence programming is in the community.
There's domestic violence programming.
A lot of times when you see there's no programming being offered, it'll say after that domestic violence programming in the
Once they're
community.
released.
So if they're moderate or high risk, they should be getting some initial in the facility and then they want them to continue. And I am going to see if I can get the programming team to come over and talk to you all.
Great.
But they should be having some,
I got and stuff.
I don't know if it's specific domestic, but they shouldn't be getting a domestic component inside before they go out and continue it. If they're moderate or high risk.
What I find is very true for domestic violence. One of the things I focus on most is if I'm hearing that they're not really they're blaming the situation for the domestic violence, like whether it's, well, if the girl just didn't provoke me or if this hadn't have happened. If I hear things like that, then there really is no change.
So I just thought this was interesting and I'm hoping to come back with more. But they will publish the study once it is finalized. This is just some initial findings.
So back to the one that low risk violent. And we evaluate them for their ability to control behavior, which is based on that. Behavior-wise and their self-control.
Yes.
If it persists, you don't know if it's going to persist until you give them some sort of change in their status, either parole, furlough.
Well, I think it's also historical. So if it first, I think you can also look at
That
How
happen again.
happen again. I think it's kind of like with criminal history. You look at their process of escalation. So is this last index offense, how many index offenses have they had before this last one?
Right.
How many domestic, like, well, low risk with a domestic probably isn't going to be
So
the case, but
behavior persisting may not be today. It might
right,
be
over time,
your furlough was revoked, your parole was revoked
right.
after you committed the index offense.
And what, are they the same? Has the behavior been the same for each instance? Kind of correlating for
That's a big number, 8 times like.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, the way I see it is, are their behaviors when they committed, when you're looking at the criminal history, are the same factors kind of coming into play each time they've reoffended?
A lot of times it is.
It is.
And if they are reoffending, and that's showing you that they haven't changed.
Right.
This is just some initial stuff. I'm sure once the official report is published, we'll all get a copy of it. But this was some stuff that I just thought was important to come back.
Be great to incorporate that into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, can we take like a 5-minute
sure.
break? All right, are we ready to reconvene? Great, so discrepancies, I put through. I don't even know if mine are in order anymore. I just gave you March until May. I don't know if all of May is on here or not. I just did up until what was in the spreadsheet. I don't know where we're at with data processing, and I didn't look that deep last night. The cases that I picked out quickly this morning were more around, so two of the cases, there was two domains that had discrepancies that I picked out. And then I just randomly picked some other ones. They were more earlier on cases. I wanted to try to make sure we had cases that at least everybody was involved in. So some of you have more than one, some of you have only one, but I got all of you in the process.
You have 3.
Yeah, you have the most. Ian.
On one page, that's pretty.
No, you can two. You can two. You've got two SCMF.
Well, only one page of your whole big printout.
Oh, that you're on? Oh.
Wayne is perfect today.
Wow.
I forgot to check some of them. Which is.
Yeah, and so the yellow boxes are when you forget to fill out an area too.
I just went through it real
I
fast.
go back and check too, and I hit one of them. And I forgot.
This is April. You forgot like 4 forms one day and I emailed you about them and then like 2 seconds later you're like, yeah, I just emailed you and told you I forgot. It's like we crossed paths.
Did they never get finished?
I took a couple more days, but yes, you did.
So is this spreadsheet getting updated when they're filled in? Because we still have a bunch of yellows
Yeah.
on the SCMF sheet. So I didn't insert yellows.
I was in Florida at this time, so maybe that's.
Surprise.
Yeah. Waiting for 2. I know I was waiting for a couple.
Yeah, I know. I am just saying, I just want to make sure that if they are filling them out, that we go back and put it into the data sheet. That's all. All right. So the first one that I have, and I have their files open, so if we need to revisit anything, we can, is Dante Canada. So it looks like it was Dean, Wayne, and Katie. It was on offender change. And I have an aggravating from Wayne and a mitigating from Katie. And Dean, I left you kind of out of it because you're in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, I put for the offender change, and I'm not even gonna try to pretend I remember this case, because I did. But this was back in March, but I wrote that he was taking some accountability, he was making some positive steps, and he was working well with risk intervention.
Checked out neutral, said he seems motivated to change and has a strategy to be successful in the community, which is what he indicated to us.
Wayne?
Mr. Aggravating.
That's another parent. I could go to the neutral case now, I just heard from my colleagues. Trying to twist my arm.
You don't want to convince us he was aggravating?
No. I don't.
All right, the next case I gave you. Hold on. For some reason, my computer doesn't want to.
Was also in March.
Well, or just, let's look at Lewis Ross. Pat, Sam, and Wayne. Pat, we have a mitigating, and Wayne, we have an aggravating.
Such a radical.
And
Which domain was-
criminal history.
It was criminal history.
Yeah.
He's 33, no significant previous history with DOC, and his involvement started a year ago. I gave him mitigating.
Prior to charge.
I have
If
minimal,
I found more or not.
I have minimal criminal history and I went with a neutral.
So the one thing that would be the one, as we're going through some of these, I think trying to be a little bit more detailed in your notes in case any of us have to go, especially myself, or if we have to give these to the legal team to go back and look at decisions, just be a little bit more descriptive of why you are coding the way you're coding.
Do you have that file?
Of this process.
I think one thing that I have to remember for this category is its history.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I like looking at it. I'm like, oh, this could be an aggravating based on the charges, but it's because they're pending charges or the current charges. I have to remember that it's the previous.
Yes.
So in
Not
the
the instant.
So in the criminal and parole history information on his parole summary, it says age of first offense 33, one prior misdemeanor conviction, cocaine possession, no parole history.
I would have done neutral.
Rather than mitigating.
And he was born in 89, so, and he was convicted in 2025, so he's, yeah.
Because mitigating, Pat, is no prior criminal history or just a minor crime. So you could make an argument for that.
Okay.
Where neutral is their minor crimes, no escalation of severity, and a long interval between.
What's aggravating an escalation, correct?
Aggravating is early onset, multiple crimes, short intervals, and escalation and seriousness.
Yeah, so I definitely don't,
Yeah,
just with this
you can make a case for either neutral. or
mitigating, not aggravating.
Good point.
It was probably a slip of the cursor.
One of those you forgot to do, and then you got a note from Parole.
Some notes in a while.
Let me see what's next. John Montgomery. What page he's on? Dean, Sam, and Angela. This is one of our doubles.
Oh, boy.
Offender change. I have a neutral for Dean, a mitigating for Angela, and an aggravating for Sam.
So my notes for offender change on that one is read a letter he prepared to the board, knows how to talk the talk, but struggles following conditions when in the community.
I did mitigating, and I put down expresses realistic plans that's taken many copies online.
Well, I wrote neutral. And he said he read a well-written letter to the board expressing his work to change his behavior to be successful when he gets released.
Do you have the options for that to me, please?
So aggravating would be behavior reports and other individuals' statements do not indicate they accept responsibility for their consequences or consequences of their behavior, that they have set realistic post-release goals, or that they have realistic plans for staying crime-free. Programming reports indicate that they have failed. That's aggravating. Mitigating would be the individual expresses a realistic plan for ways to avoid criminal behavior post-release and work towards pro-social goals. Evidence exists to show that he successfully or she successfully completed programming that was required and is displaying behavior change. Neutral is, although reports indicate completed required programming, there's no evidence of change as a result. Doesn't articulate change. reference release planning. These are notes I put on.
Sam, are you relying on your aggravating on your seems to struggle follow conditions within the community? Are you
think so.
relying on the historical?
Probably.
Okay.
I could have probably gone down to a neutral on that one.
I think it, because this is the forward thinking, not the, it seems like the aggravating would probably be up in your
Yeah, I could go down to a neutral
your
on that one.
ability to control behavior, yeah.
I would think that I did choose neutral because neutral has completed required programming, and at this time, I had a note saying that it has not started required programming.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I
Right.
completed it,
That's one of the
but he
criteria.
had taken classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one would be more of a neutral. Okay, and then release plan.
I have wants to potentially ICOTS to New Jersey when released, but nothing in the works yet.
And how did you category?
Aggravating, sorry.
I had exactly the same thing. I cost in New Jersey when he completes programming neutral.
Me too, but I couldn't mitigate. It needs to complete programming first, then iPods.
Yeah, so it definitely would be a mitigating for sure, because he hasn't completed his programming, so the release plan isn't put together yet.
I think that's why I did aggravating, because that's what he wanted to do, but there was no release plan together to put forward. But I could have gone neutral or aggravating. That one, I think.
So aggravating is lacks a specific realistic release plan. Neutral is the individual has specific realistic plans addressing community stability factors with several not adequately addressed yet. Which I think is the case here.
We don't know if ICOTS to New Jersey would even be an
Right.
adequate plan yet, though. So I would say aggravating or neutral for sure. Because there's no way to know if that New Jersey is, because the plan hasn't been vetted, so there's no way to tell.
Yeah.
I have a question on this one. So
Yeah.
it's up there. So in the case specific factors, Sam and Dean put down neutral, and then I put aggravating, and then I put down that he's pending a VAPO charge.
I put that down, inability to control behavior. I put violent and assaultive charges pending
Yeah.
a legal.
Yeah, that's where I got it. Aggravating. I
Good
think
discussion
the
point.
things that you brought forward this morning, MJ, will help us with case specific factors.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get more information in that one too.
People all on the same wavelength. Yeah.
Just different frequency.
Radio channel. Channel two.
All right, give me a second, I'll get our next one. Preston Foster. And you and Dean. I think that would be Angela and Tom. That's not here.
No, it's not here. He was obviously wrong.
Angela and I were right.
I think that's what's on this one. This is another double one, I believe. It's later on. I really wanted to make sure I hit the doubles. All right, institutional community behavior. I have Dean with a neutral, Angela with a mitigating, and Tom with an aggravating.
Institutions.
Do you have Tom?
I have Tom's sheet. I will
I
try
have-
to.
He's recently released on community supervision and there's been no issues.
Yeah, I just put down no TR since 6/10/27.
I'm gonna try to be Tom in a second.
Yes.
Minor DR in the past year.
Did he gave him an aggravating?
He should
Wow.
have, it should have been neutral. or-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Second one was same thing. Tender change, same scores.
I said motivated to stay on a positive track and acknowledges past behaviors.
And I wrote for neutral, is committed to addressing serious health issues and having any contact with its victims. Is motivated to avoid issues that got him into trouble in the past.
He wrote doing an 180-day interrupt sentence for his continued non-compliance behavior, no evidence of change presented. Based on what was just said, I don't see how it could be an aggravating, because there is at least neutral there.
He was probably basing it on the.
I wonder if he initially did some of these and didn't go back after
The hearing?
Yeah. Because he did have neutral for release plan, so I would almost think if you have neutral for a release plan, you'd almost have neutral for a better change, at least.
He's in community opportunities.
Yeah, this was Marble Valley. He must have been incarcerated.
No, he was in the community. Preston Foster?
Oh, maybe we didn't change the site. Cause I have him listed as Marble Valley. I'll tell you in a second.
I think the report might have been in Marble Valley, but he'd been recently released when we saw him.
Okay, he was just barely, yes, he was just barely released because Jesse came in to present the case.
Yeah.
It was like a day or two difference. Yeah. Those are the cases that I picked to present. I can do more because there's definitely more since we last met. But here's another one. I wish Tom was here that I would go over because there's another one that's Richard Hammond and April Northern, where both Pat and Katie had mitigating and Tom had aggravating.
Oh, wow.
And it happened again in Chittenden in April, where Pat and Dean had mitigating and Tom had aggravating. So those may be a couple cases that we talk about next staff meeting where we don't have a neutral. I don't think it's.
I'm on the hot seat.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, and then we have one in March with Newport PMP where Pat and Tom had aggravating, Katie had mitigating. So it'll be interesting to see, and those might be some of the cases that I look at more next month. Not so much the ones with the neutrals, but look at some of these that have
Aggravating.
neutrals.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good to go through them. Thinking.
It does.
And what domain was that one in?
Oh, hold on. The one where you were different.
Yeah.
Tender change. Nope, wrong one. None. Institutional community behavior.
That was usually pretty fun, no?
Yeah, usually.
Maybe I accidentally clicked wrong.
Cursor slip.
Like, my quick,
That one's usually pretty fun.
my quick scan shows Taylor, Bacon, and Boucher is the most consistent team of all these papers.
I agree with that.
Oh, I just went through all of them.
Any other discrepancies you wanted to do?
No, I think that was just what I came together quickly, last night and this morning. What's the problem?
I was asking if I could get some copies.
The SDMF form?
Yes.
What
Yes.
is it? We're in the middle.
You like the line there?
Yeah, I like the, whatever that is.
You can't just draw a line. Wait a minute. Now that you off subject, I wanna know what you're talking about.
You know, in the notes section,
Yeah,
There's usually like just a line there.
okay.
With verbiage on it.
Where you write in things.
Yeah.
yes. I don't like that.
Sorry.
Can't draw a line?
Well, then you don't have enough room to type what, to put what you want to put.
Are you handwriting these or?
Some of them I handwrite. And then I,
So,
I didn't write all mine, but I just write through it.
we're not gonna put in, no. We're not gonna have two versions of this form floating around. Sorry, Pat.
that's okay.
You have
You
that.
gave me copies of that before.
Well, this one with the no click or tap here to enter text.
Huh?
What are you asking?
Yeah,
for?
this is what she looks for.
So we just make copies of that on top here.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That's what I asked.
Oh, then why, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
There are different versions. It's just,
it's just without, when we write
Yeah.
up that click
Yes.
here,
Yeah.
okay,
yes.
Yeah, you gave me a bunch of them too.
Yes.
we can make them for everybody.
I just find that annoying.
Okay, that makes more sense, because it sounds like you wanted a line name.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Who would like, hard copy STML forms to write them out in hard copy first? Anybody? Because
Steve does.
Yeah.
Ian, maybe, how many do you want? Do you want 50 apiece?
50 is great.
Yeah.
On the.
Thank you, Carol.
I'll send you the action that you have over half. And,
You're not gonna be done.
You're not gonna have any extra, unless you give your notice.
You're not gonna be done.
yeah.
I told you, that you have to give your notice if you wanna be done. Because this is not a priority. Sorry.
Done.
They have to notice.
No, you have to set a drop, a drop.
I
date.
just on this day.
Yes, you have to give them a
This
date.
Don't give a date.
They have a day. February 28th.
Yeah.
Don't give another one.
All right, yeah, the next thing on NCMF was just the community of practice. So next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and a half a day on Thursday is the structured decision-making framework community of practice. I think I counted there's 7 or 8 states, I think, that are going.
Do you know which states?
I can, hold on. Give me a second.
It looked like it was a full day based on the schedule.
Yeah, the agenda doesn't have a full day on Thursday.
I think that's what I saw.
I thought, yeah.
It looked like the
The
agenda.
last agenda? I thought we were getting done around noon.
No, it looks like we're going,
Okay.
yeah, straight. That's why they didn't want you to book a flight till after 7.
Are you going out Friday morning?
Yeah, but I was like, I'll be up. I was like taking a nap on the flight. Yeah, I'm going home Thursday night.
Oh, no.
I got like a midnight flight.
I'm going home Friday.
I did discover there's a Disneyland 45 minutes from the conference.
Sound recorded.
I was like, oh, my dinner is so deal.
All right. So Washington's going. South Dakota, New York. Us. Ohio. Only one person from Kansas, she's a trainer, so Kansas will be there in some fashion. Utah, New Hampshire, they haven't started, so they're gonna be in the same place we were when we went to the last one. Michigan. She's also a trainer, but I don't know if she's just going for herself. Looks like Missouri, Connecticut, and California.
Said Utah's gonna be there.
Yes.
Weren't they the ones that were very similar to us? I think they were.
They have the most revocations in the country. I learned that at APAI.
Utah does?
Yep,
The most number or the highest?
there's like
percentage?
98%
Okay.
or something really high like that.
Oh, it would be
You
like.
don't mess with Mormons.
I've been talking to New Hampshire a lot about it.
Oh, good.
I'm also gonna plan a visit to New Hampshire. It's a little aside. I've been talking with, I talked to the director and I'm gonna go over to New Hampshire sometime, probably not in July, and I'm gonna sit in for one of the revocation hearing days and really watch their violation hearings. Most places don't call them violation hearings, they call them revocation hearings.
Oh, they come disposed of.
No, in a lot of jurisdictions, by the time they reach the board, it's almost the last straw and they've already gone through, they really exhausted all of their community options before
Wow.
they get to the board. And I am gonna drive over to Concord one day. And attend the hearings. And just they've been picking my brain about a lot of stuff and I've been picking theirs. They've got a new chair that's very proactive. And the director and I get along really well. Sam learned that he talks a lot when he gets going.
Good.
I got back in the grocery store.
So that was, so yeah, so we'll be gone and on the road and Carla is coming along.
Good.
For some training support, to help me take notes and stuff. So we can update a lot of our documents. I couldn't get a third board member. I opened it up, I took advantage of the 4 slots.
Good.
I don't get free Fed money very
No, you
often.
don't.
Right.
Good. Well, we'll expect a big update when you get back. So you have to go to some of the classes then, right? Okay, Ian, my conference report out, MJ and Sam.
Sam, I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, God.
I've been talking a lot for the last hour.
Not prepared for that, but
I'm not prepared either, so hey.
I thought it was really great. I thought, for me, it was engaging to listen to the other countries and how they do things. Canada's amazing. I absolutely love them. But I didn't realize how much training they do. So Canada does a 6-week onboard training for each member. And then they go to like public servant school is what they call it. And then they do regional and national trainings throughout the year, which was really interesting. So I was like, they put a lot into it, which I thought was,
Yeah, they're full time too.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not saying that we're doing that.
right.
I'm just saying. And just, listening to the other states and how they do things is very different. New York sounds like they got a lot going on because they have 2 people that do it all and they're flying all over the state. So, and they do nothing digital. So they were saying that they go through boxes. At least that was my understanding.
Wow.
They go through boxes of cases. So one person is interviewing and one person is reading the next case and then they switch.
Wow.
I don't know how they do it. That does not sound like.
That's
a
a
lot.
At the last year's conference, New York was complaining about the paper and how they're doing everything. And so I thought maybe that would have changed by now.
Yeah. In I got a lot of information out of our regional breakout. But Pennsylvania's incorporating AI into their decisions and like trying to use AI to like pull data and like what they're tracking and stuff. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because AI will make something up if it doesn't know the
Yeah.
answer.
Exactly.
And then just like how different states kind of go out into the community and go to different events. So Louisiana went to the Crime Victims' Rights Week in their state and mingled just how they do things. It was really interesting. I got a lot of knowledge, met a lot of good people.
Good.
They asked me to be on their professional development committee for ATAI.
Right?
What did you say? I don't know.
That's what they reached back out. Have they reached back out?
What trainings, which classes did you go to? Do you remember?
No,
Look,
I did, yeah, oh wait, I think I have it in my bag. We also got bags. I did. Dear Lord. Put me on the spot. I did beyond compliance and national exploration of supervised conditions, trends, and emerging practices. I did uncovering motivation, reduced recidivism.
we got the Elbow Street's daughter. She took it was a doctorate for presentation. She
Yeah,
lived
kidding.
everybody. The other daughter's doing it. It's going on. A presentation for the APAI.
Really?
He's a good guy.
Good.
I did balancing the skills, understanding actual measures, structured tools, and professional judgment. And trauma-informed engagement. That was done by the New Hampshire board.
And I have their PowerPoint that I planned on handing out.
Trauma-informed engagement.
They did a really good job.
Yeah,
I have their PowerPoint. I made Jay give it to me.
that's all I got for now.
The French Quarter.
What?
The French Quarter.
We looked at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You didn't spend any time on
We did a carriage ride around. We did.
it.
We were pretty tame.
Yeah.
We got lost in the Garden District on foot.
We were settled. We did not get
And then I
crazy.
got lost driving around. And we went to the wrong restaurant.
Other people sound like they got a little crazy down on Bourbon Street, but we did not go
Only
there.
at night, though. It's closer in the day, right?
I think so.
Yeah. See any grades?
No, but there was one.
Like,
We
well,
missed
I
it.
was daily.
We were
in
too.
different section.
We were
Well,
shooting
it's
early
different.
birds.
It was beautiful. It was so cool.
No, we were actually on the other side of town that night.
You have a big name?
What? Sorry.
A big name?
No. MJ had one the first day.
Oh, yeah, they did. And it didn't meet, it was not very good.
I guess not.
I went to Cafe Dumont and it wasn't great.
Is next year's the same place where we're going?
No, I don't know where.
Colorado.
It's gonna be in Denver.
Oh, so kind of still there.
Downtown core.
I do not know where it's gonna be yet.
Suburb.
So I will tell you, as a member of the executive committee, it was a shock to some of us, where it was gonna be, because we did not know. As of our last meeting in April, a place had not been picked. Last we knew, they were looking at New York City because New York wanted to host, but the price of New York City was way too high. They were looking at Michigan, but Michigan bowed out. Ashley Coons, the executive director, was looking throughout the whole country. I was actually kind of looking at, honestly, New York City, I was like, we could rent a van. We could load up a van if people are willing to share hotel room. I could probably budget for most of us to go if we drove instead of each of us flew.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be in Denver next year. I don't know the dates. I don't know. I might know more on Wednesday, because our next executive committee meeting's on Wednesday.
Did they ever host one here in Vermont?
No.
We did one in Rhode Island years ago.
Yes, so they did look at Vermont, knowing that, I will say, the capacity that we have as a group, I don't know if we could handle it.
Mhm.
Because it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and I don't know if we have the people power.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the, and it's also expensive to fly in and out of Vermont.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where would you have it? That becomes the next question.
But Burlington or something like that.
You'd have to look at Burlington close to the airport, but then again. But Ashley said that she looked here, she looked at Oregon, she looked at Boston, she was looking at different places, and the prices were just outrageous.
Texas. Still cheaper to fly to New York City right now than to drive. Or no, they're
Yeah.
going north then.
Right.
Next month.
I'm thinking when you got 10 people going though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then you take the train and it
Yeah.
just takes me 2 days to get there.
I just don't have a,
Train gets to Millbury, 5 hours.
I was gonna say, I went to New
think
York
about
City 2 weekends ago on a tank of gas and back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
All right. So a couple things that I have. The first one is in the director's session, we had, so the directors and the chairs had very similar topics that were discussed. And one of them is around they're working on standards for rolling authorities throughout the country. Richard Stroker's group, Center Effective Public Policy, and APAI have been trying to work on something. And something that came out of what Richard was talking about really struck me. And I wanted to talk about our denial form, especially. Because I think it's one thing that the board's trying to do in our verbal, when we deny somebody verbally, I think we're trying to do it. And I think sometimes, Pat, you're doing it in the reasons for denial. And Dean, you sometimes will put it in the board comments. I really want to propose that we get rid of the check boxes for to better your chances for parole. You should get rid of the check boxes and really put a narrative in there, and get rid of the board comments and really put a narrative in there that kind of, so you should have your reasons why you denied, but then also look at what can they do to better their chances to be placed on parole so they could be put on parole. And really separate those two, because Pat, you try to combine it in the reasons for denial, which I often separate it out for you because it's not a reason. It's not a reason why you denied them when you say, well, we want a good release plan. It's really, what can we give them for that carrot? Why did you deny them? What are you looking to see? I don't think.
I guess that's why I lump them together.
I know, but I think people, they might not see it that way. Because Richard really stressed, if you're denying somebody, make sure you're giving them that incentive, that motivation of what can they work towards. And Ian, I don't remember who you did last week, but you did one really well, and it was last Thursday. I don't remember who it was at this point, and I'm sure all the denials are filed at this point.
Oh, efficient.
It wouldn't have been Thursday, it would have been Tuesday.
Tuesday.
You're still in there.
Oh, they're still in there. Look at that. Because you came off of one of the days. It was at this point. Nope, that's a violation. Was it the week before? Nope, I don't know when it was, when we had that
Did you
conversation.
look at Tuesdays?
It's not Tuesday because we didn't have a denial. Maybe it was the 14th. It was the Marble Valley case. Oh, it wouldn't have been on that schedule. Oh, too many pieces. There, Boucher over Pool. Here we go. So in this one, it said core supervision history in the community picked up new charges and lost its furlough as a reason to deny. And then Dean, I'll let you guys read this. I'm not gonna read it all. But then Dean went further into what kind of more of what's the part of there.
You read without glasses.
So just kind of that, this would be something that I just think would be more of that piece. And Sam, I think you started doing that in the Northern Bay when you did your denials. It's really just kind of articulating more to the individual what.
Yeah, this guy was just a couple months away from being DR free for a year. And
Why did you pick October?
because that would be his year
Okay,
if he remained DR free.
okay.
Just something that
Yeah.
I know it's more for the chairs because it's how you do your paperwork. But I think it's also also how you're justifying your decisions to a little bit. But really, how do we express this to the individuals? Just some thoughts. Yeah. I just thought,
And eliminate the checkbox section.
yeah. Because I think somebody might read a narrative before they're going to look at the check boxes. And realistically, most everybody has the same check boxes, and you might need to tweak that a little bit more. It may be present an approved parole plan that includes X, Y, and Z, not just
And
present.
what site was this?
Rutland's. It's not in the Rutland files, though. It's in its offender file. But just some thoughts.
Okay.
About adopting just a little bit of a different looking. The other thing that I find interesting is that many states when they grant parole, they're writing the same kind of reasons for granting. It's not just reasons for denial. They also have a 1-page of reasons why they granted. I don't think we need to come up with that because I think your SCMF forms is where you're tracking your reasons for your vote.
Right.
That was just one piece.
So are you going to modify the form at some point? Okay.
If you guys are on board with it.
Yeah. I just might need a reminder initially.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Another couple things. Some updates from NIC. They are running they're doing one new member training and chairs training this year in July. I don't know if any of the new members had signed up for it when I had suggested that you sign up for it. They had overwhelming amount of people sign up, and I don't know how they chose who got to go. So I don't know. I haven't heard from any of you. So if you did sign up, I'm guessing nobody got chose to go to that. They are going to have hopefully one in January and one in July of 2027. They've got a new director that is really a advocate for paroling authorities and community supervision. So hopefully these trainings will now be back on the front burner. They're also looking at possibly starting a paroling authority network. If there's anything else. There is the opening welcome that they did And they had an individual, Dawn Allison, come in, who was a victim of crime, who then became an advocate. There was a CBS This Morning episode that was shown to us. I'm gonna pull that and send it to all of you because it was very powerful how a victim of crime who was very angry turned around and to actually be working in a prison. So I plan on sending that all to you. I went to a self-care workshop. I actually won a self-care basket from Georgia in their raffle. Georgia gave away so much stuff. That was fun, trying to figure out how to bring that home. I did it though.
Carry on big.
I gotta look through my notes a little bit more. I took a ton of notes. I've got a lot of pictures too. Yeah. I got almost kicked out of the session.
What? Why?
It's
Disruptive.
Yeah. So one afternoon we had a couple choices of sessions. The one Sam picked was not a hit. Another one was with Richard Stroker and Cindy Mauser, and I felt like I had already seen theirs. So I went to Dr. Alex Walker's workshop. If any of you have not heard of Alex, she is great. I had seen her like 3 times already at that conference. I'm taking her trainings through ACJ, through another organization. You remember Alex from the community practice? And she came up to me and goes, "Why are you here? Haven't you heard me speak enough?" Go somewhere else. I'm like, "But I've already heard Richard speak enough too." So, yeah, it was.
Let you stay.
Yeah, she was okay. I did a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the other thing, the Northeast Regional Group decided is to have quarterly regional meetings. So I'm going to do my best to schedule those, and I will let you all know when they are, and you're more than welcome to come join and talk to other members from the Northeast region. Surely, generally, there hasn't been any set agendas. It's really come talk about, bounce ideas off. Wayne, did you go to the last one? Was Dean and Wayne? Or what did you join, Wayne? Because you came to something.
It was one of the regional meetings.
Yeah, it was a regional meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Dean and Wayne at the last one. But yeah, come on in and come join their virtual. Hopefully we can hopefully we can get Pennsylvania on and have the ability to talk more about. They're working with, so when they're working on AI, they're working with their case management vendor with it right now. They have their own case management system. Kind of jealous.
The parole board does?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jealous.
Progression.
APAI has a new president, Keisha Rodman from Washington. She's the chair of Washington. She was the vice president. She's really excited. She was polling a bunch of us after the afternoon of the last day of what we'd like to see and different stuff. So hopefully we'll have some more breakout sessions throughout the year too, virtual sessions throughout the year too, hopefully.
Okay. Thank you.
I have more, but my head's not wrapping around my nose.
More to come.
For once, I took more notes, I think, than Sam did.
When you build in your budget,
Yeah.
make sure we get headwinds for
Training budget,
conferences.
training budget.
Really good. More people we can send, the better.
Yep.
Pat, anything to go out?
I have nothing for the round table. I have nothing. Everything's going well. I think.
So, yeah.
Long story, but hopefully July 1st. Was supposed to be June 1st. But person didn't leave.
Okay. Somebody called.
Lord, evidently something happened with that. And So there will be some time in June, and of course, we've got to go in and repaint the apartment.
Mhm.
So hopefully at the end of June, beginning of July.
So I actually wanted to ask MJ more about the new bill that's that we're hoping gets signed soon,
Mhm.
in terms of the training
Mhm.
that they want to see. What is that going to look like? Besides that, what are they actually, I didn't really see many parameters around it.
There is no parameters around the training. The training
So
is
how do
what,
they expect you to track that and report out, and what's sort of in the works for all of that?
so the big thing that they want to report out on is the legal training. The report out is, the big report out is around the legal training. Is my understanding, around the pilot project, around the legal counsel. The rest of the training is our parameters of
Things that we want.
identifying what the board needs. Myself and the chair, Dean now, but we'll see who it becomes. Are to really look at the training needs of the board and to bring in people. Like I've been trying to bring in folks like transitional housing this month. I'm hoping to get programming here, DOC programming here. Really, what are those? Is there topics that you all are experts in that you want to train on that? And that's that's gonna be the training pieces.
Because they did some things that they wanted to see.
So these topics,
Yeah.
so that was not the
The
list.
laundry list that.
Yeah. So it was myself and Todd Delos that put that laundry list in there. The legislature did not draft this bill. I drafted 90% of this bill. So it's what I think, it's really what you all need to, in order to be able to assess these cases and make your determinations, you need to be educated in a lot of these, and we're gonna bring in folks. And the way the language was written, so it didn't tie in, at first it was written like I was gonna give the training. But then it was changed to that we'll bring in experts to do the training.
Because I was thinking about doing a training for June. You guys want me to do that?
They've asked you to do
No, I know,
multiple
but-
trainings.
So I was gonna do it now that we're back in person, because trying to do a training online is just not fun.
Crazy.
I've done it before and it doesn't work out well. So which do you guys feel like is more helpful, substance use or mental health? Be more helpful.
A lot of times they go in the end.
Well, I know, but again, which would you like to hear about first?
Substance abuse, I think.
Substance use?
Which is one a predecessor of the other? Like, do you often see mental health?
Oh my
leading
gosh,
to
they're
substance
so,
use?
they're so interwoven, mainly because a lot of times substance use stems from self-medicating
Right.
from mental illness.
So that's why I'm looking at which
Can you
ones.
tie them together, do you think?
You can if you want to be here all day.
You can get lunch and do an all-day training. I mean,
Because there's so much that it all depends, because if you look at substance use, it's such an overwhelming big topic anyway, so there's certain pieces to it that could become separate on their own. For instance, like the new math therapies, the new, so that could be its whole discussion. Like what's out there for math and what substances are that they're using and how they're being used and the outcomes of them. And then there's then there's a whole other section on substance use and the risk of relapse and what do you need to mitigate relapse. So there's all different components to it. And then within mental health, there's sort of understanding. So that way, I think one of the things, at least in my mind, I don't know what you guys think, but one of the most things that might be helpful is when they're throwing out diagnoses, what does that actually mean? So if someone's saying, I have this diagnosis, what does it mean? Or I have this one, like kind of getting a baseline understanding of what that looks like.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
I don't know. So I'm just kind of looking for some guidance on what.
my thought would be to start with mental health and lead it into substance use.
Okay.
And then maybe, depending on how long that is, maybe work on how long that'll be, and then we can, it's a whole training day, it's a whole training day. I don't mind.
We could do
Making
part
it-
A and month A and part B and month B.
I mean, I can do them as many,
Yeah.
you know. And if you guys don't, you know, want to be in training, I can do like, okay, this is an hour section and then the next one we'll do another hour. And, you know, however you want to break it up, it's fine.
Sounds good, thank you.
I get my hair cut a little short, it won't hurt quite as bad if you do.
Why would it hurt
If you
my
do a
hair?
whole day.
Hey, I'm used to doing I've trained forever, so I'm used to doing
A
half
whole
day.
day would
1
probably,
hour,
a whole
2
day
hours.
would probably be 9 to 2. And we could get lunch in. I wouldn't have any objections to, unless we
A whole day just on trauma, like that's,
Yeah.
and the whole like, you know, epigenetics of it. How it
Yeah,
attaches to
I
the
would-
brain.
I think maybe do the introduction to mental health and then lead into substance use, and then maybe a separate day, maybe go into all the different substance use treatment options.
Mhm.
Cause I could see that being a whole day probably. And of itself, I don't know.
Or if I mean, you could do a whole day if you tied this, like an understanding of substance use and then like the outcomes, like, you
Yeah.
know, what then lead that into what people need for relapse prevention, but the math stuff in general and the new therapies and that kind of stuff, that would be as long.
So
Me
just,
too, a lot would be, you know, I'm not as concerned about the, you know, physiological issues as much as what are the expected outcomes? What can we do for it? If someone has done X, is it reasonable to expect that we can make these people successful in the community, and what do we need to do?
Unfortunately, a lot of, not just what I know about substance use, but what I'm seeing in Vermont, we don't have it.
Yeah.
Don't have it. Bottom line. You know, the 2-week stints in Valley Vista and Serenity House
Right.
just isn't,
Yeah, how many times do we see people going back and back?
yeah, it's just not
Yeah.
enough. It's not working. We don't have enough aftercare to follow that up.
the other thing that I'm wondering is if you can like put out, because sometimes diagnosis, we don't talk about diagnoses during hearing. Sometimes you get the acronyms or the names or different stuff, but also maybe what to look for or what kind of questions to ask that you might be able to tell if somebody is suffering from either mental illness or.
Like the signs and symptoms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important, because I think that often, there's a lot of times, I've worked in the field previously, I'll pick up on signs and the way the questioning's going, I'm like, they're not seeing it.
Yeah.
They're not seeing it.
Can I also include like, I don't know if you have any expertise in developmental stuff. But like sometimes like if somebody's, you know, they've got a developmental issue. Those I pick up on those because my husband's in that field, so I'm surrounded by that. So I don't know if you have any information on to give on that side.
I have a lot of knowledge on how trauma affects development and how that sort of affects their chronological ability to develop, and how that kind of works into social determinants later on in life. But just, you know, development in and of itself a little, I mean, I've minored in child development, but
Yeah, I don't know if some of it's getting lost in teams. But there's times where a lot of it's sitting back listening, and I don't know if some of it's getting lost in the shuffle of trying to do paperwork and pay attention. I can catch a lot of the cues just listening sometimes that are not always caught. Just some thoughts. Just let me know how much you want, so I can just figure out.
well, it's good to have some kind of direction on where.
Yes, if you can tell me by mid-month, that would be helpful, so I can do the agenda. I won't ask DOC programming to come next month, which is fine, because I want to give them enough time to.
Sam?
I just want to say I appreciate the deliberatives, not in every case at all, but, Pat, Wayne and I had a decent day last Thursday, and I just really appreciate the conversations that we had in the deliberatives in making our decisions. I think it's valuable.
Angela?
I don't have anything. At this
Pickle,
time.
pickles.
Start.
Life is good.
He's good on the lake.
Yeah, almost. Getting stuff under control.
I am all set as well. I got the schedule out last week, so anybody that has any conflicts, let me know today. That'd be great.
Later, I know, I'm gone at the end of June.
You know,
I'm not around end of June, I'm going to New York
yeah, I
City.
get that. Yeah.
And you will notice that June is a little bit different. BJ and PMs to be put on a different day to their schedule, their office schedules, so they are on our normal overflow day. And overflow wasn't gonna happen, but I reinstituted it to the 18th. Because we are missing 2 hearing days the second week of the month due to PRO training.
Thanks, everyone.
I was gonna say something, now I don't remember.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, hold on.
Whoops. I didn't know Dean was
That's
waiting.
jumping the gun.
So we will, when we make that motion, we're gonna adjourn the staff meeting portion, and then we're gonna re-adjourn this meeting, Katie and Angela.
Finish up the hearing. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We have to do that on the record.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Thank you for that motion, Pat. Second,
Second.
seconded by Sam. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.